Good morning. I'm Cindy Parker, a member of the Board of Trustees, and I'm happy to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Brunswick, Maine. Today is Sunday, February 28th, 2021. This morning's service is led by our interim minister, Reverend Justine Sullivan, with a reflection by Grace Lewis McLaren and special music by Judd Caswell. We invite you to give to this month's Charity with Soul, the Mid-Coast Humane Society. And if you haven't done so already, we invite you to sign up for a small group discussion led by a member of the transition team that will help inform the story of UUCB that prospective ministers will see in the coming year. You can sign up by going to the link found in This Week at UUCB, or by calling Mary Larson or Carol Evans. We hope you enjoy the service.
Good morning and welcome to worship here in Brunswick on this beautiful winter's day in February. It's so good to be with you. Today, my friends, here in the United States, we have passed a very grim milestone, over 500,000 now dead to the coronavirus. That's more Americans than died in World War I, World War II, and the Vietnam War combined. And as our newly elected President Biden, has taken so seriously this role of healer-in-chief, I am grateful that as we pass that 500,000 milestone, that he and Vice President Harris stopped what they were doing and took time to remember. And so it occurs to me that on this day, we also should stop and take time to remember not just those lost to COVID, but to allow ourselves to experience much of what we have lost in this year apart. The gatherings, the weddings, the memorials, graduations, all these important milestones that we have had to forego or postpone or honor in a different way. So today we will allow ourselves to feel some of that grief and longing. And as often happens when we want to do something special, what we need is already here in this community of faith here at UUCB. So we will hear a beautiful song in a little bit from our own Judd Caswell, a song about living with loss, and he will tell us about that when the time comes. And then a bit later, we'll have a reflection from our own Grace Lewis McLaren. Grace begins with a beautiful reminiscence of her mother, remembering her mother's death some years ago. And then because it is Grace, she takes us to a place of hope, encouraging us to live the lives we are meant to live. And it occurred to me as I listened to Grace's words that hope and grief really are not opposites. They are more like cousins with a shared ancestor. And that shared ancestor is love. We grieve because we love. And we also hope because we love. We hope for better days for ourselves, but also for all those whom we know and care about. We wish for something better for those we love. So hope also comes from a place of love. So let us be together on this day, gathered for a sacred time, and let us sing together our opening hymn, number 1, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door.
May nothing evil cross this door, and if fortune never cry, about these windows may the roar and rain go by. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This heart, will keep you warm. He shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual chord
Hello and good morning. My name is Tobin and I serve as your Director of Religious Exploration. Today's Time for All Ages story lifts up our 7th principle and talks about how we are all interconnected. I hope you enjoy. All I See is Part of Me by Cara M. Curtis, with illustrations by Cynthia Aldridge. The author dedicates this book to the child within us all. I am part of all I see, and all I see is part of me. I am my hands, I am my feet, I am the puppy across the street. I am the moon, I am the stars. I'm even found in candy bars. I used to think that I was small, a little body, that was all. But then one day I asked the sun, "Who are you?" He beamed, "We are one." But Mr. Sun, how is this true? Am I not me? Are you not you? He smiled. You might ask Sister Star. She too is part of who you are. And so I waited till the night, when darkness let me see her light. Sister Star, how can it be that I am you and you are me? She glowed. You're larger than you know. You're every place there is to go. You have a body, this is true, but look at what's inside of you. I closed my eyes to see within. I saw a light. It made me grin. It reminded me of Sister Star. She said, that light is who you are. Your body is just a part of the light that shines within your heart. In all the world, in all of space, your light shines bright. It's every place. And when you join it dot to dot, you'll see that you are what you've got. All the plants, the animals, and trees are in your light, and you are these. Look inside each one you meet and see your light. It's so complete. Inside, outside, below, above, see your light and feel its love. You're asking you when you ask me, because we're one, don't you agree? I looked again at all my light and saw that Sister Star was right. For every question there can be, an answer waits inside of me. Then I said, there's even more. Each question opens up a door, and every door that I walk through leads to a part of me that's new. Thank you so much, Sister Star. I love the part of me you are. I wondered as I climbed in bed, does all of me sleep when I rest my head? And then a voice called through the night, oh, you precious child of light. Even when you sleep, you are awake in every shining star. I snuggled with my teddy bear, and in his light I saw me there. You are me, and I am you. You love me, and I love you too. I closed my eyes and found my light, dancing with the moonbeams in the night. I said a prayer I know was heard, 'cause all I am hears every word. And I can see in all of me that there can be no end.
The title of this week's service is To Heal, We Must Remember. As Justine and I talked about the elements of the service over the week, I kept returning to this song that I wrote 10 years ago now. A song for the Maine Children's Cancer Program. A song written for their remembrance ceremony. To heal, we must remember. Of course, they would know this, these social workers who brought these grieving people together year after year to honor the memories of their loved ones. to give them the chance to be with other parents who could understand maybe the depth of their grief, but more importantly, to be with others who weren't afraid to ask them to remember, to ask them about their child. What was their favorite song, their favorite sport, their name? To open that door to remembering and be willing to walk with them through it into the grief on the other side, knowing that healing was on the other side of that door as well. The song is called Everywhere. I've been lost in wandering, looking for some solid ground. When going through was too hard to do, I tried to find a way around. I did a lot of falling down. 'Cause I was lost in missing you, the little things I couldn't touch, a hand, a hug, your shoes on the rug, all the daily such and such that never used to mean so much. I know you are still there, 'cause I can hear you in the wind, feel you in my skin, see you everywhere. I was lost in wondering why you always felt so near, and if I was wrong or just holding on. Now I think I see it clear. There's so much of you still here, and I know you are still there, 'cause I can hear you in the wind, feel you in my skin, see you everywhere. I found a birthday card I bought you and forgot about, sat down on your bed and cried. I found a pen and was myself again when I signed my name inside. And I find myself alive, just a little every day. I'll do something new and I'll share it with you. I think of things that you might say. I go on with you that way, 'cause I know you, I know you, I know are still there, 'cause I can hear you in the wind, feel you in my skin, see you everywhere.
Every religious tradition, spiritual community throughout history that I have ever known of includes as part of its worship the offering, the giving and the taking up of an offering, each according to their means, giving from a place of abundance, giving from gratitude. And so it is in this community of faith that we ask for and receive the gifts of this community. So at this time, we would invite you to share from your abundance so that this community of faith can continue to do important work in our lives and in the lives of this greater community. The morning offering will now be gratefully given and received.
There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. Sometimes I feel discouraged and think my work's in vain, but then the Holy Spirit revives my soul again. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. If you can preach like Peter, if you can preach like Paul, go home and tell your neighbor that love can save us all. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul, to heal the sin-sick soul.
Our reading this morning is by the Reverend Jan Richardson from a book called The Cure for Sorrow, a beautiful book. This piece is called Blessing for the Brokenhearted, and she begins it with a quotation from Henry David Thoreau. There is no remedy for love but to love more. Let us agree for now that we will not say the breaking makes us stronger, or that it is better to have this pain than to have done without this love. Let us promise we will not tell ourselves time will heal the wound when every day our waking opens it anew. Perhaps for now it can be enough to simply marvel at the mystery of how a heart so broken can go on beating, as if it were made precisely for this, as if it knows the only cure for love is more of it, as if it sees the heart's sole remedy for breaking is to love still, as if it trusts that its own persistent pulse is the rhythm of a blessing we cannot begin to fathom, but will save us nonetheless. Here ends our reading.
Years since that tractor started, the barn fell down and they hauled her out for parts, and I took her home to see what might be done. If a stubborn man could make her run, with a drop of diesel, a little oil, weeks of patience and days of toil. When I hear her running, good as new now, something sparks inside me, thinks of you. And I go out in the woods to work on the land with my hands when I can't cross the spans of my heart. Out in the woods, trying to piece back together these days that are falling apart. Out in the woods. Now you can see how there's look before all the trees the wind blew down can't even fall to the floor. They got tied in tangles halfway down, and they can't see the sky, and they can't touch the ground. And lately that's a thing understand, so I drive the tractor down and take the saw in my hands, 'cause I'm tied in tangles since you died, and I can't feel the ground, and I can't see the sky. So I go out in the woods, hauling out dead falls to make way for stone walls to mark where you lie. Out in the woods, working the land while I can, knowing someday I'll rest by your side. Out in the woods. Out in the woods, cutting a hole in the sky for the sun and the rain, and I'm out in the woods to hallow this ground while the wind in the crowns cries the sound of your name. Out in
A few days before she was scheduled for major surgery, Mother was sounding as if she didn't expect to survive. Pop and I attempted to comfort and distract her, but honestly, those were our fears as well. At my urging, she took out her violin. Her piano hadn't been tuned in several years, and she had to take lots of breaks to catch her breath, so it certainly wasn't an optimal performance, but together, she played a movement of a concerto that she loved, and then her signature piece, the Meditation from Massenet's Thais. Well, she survived the surgery, but the prognosis was just terrible. Pop promised that he would care for her until the end, and that he would never, as she put it, send her off to strangers. And he kept that promise until it was taken from him. As her pain intensified, so did her grip on him. He couldn't be late returning from the grocery store or be outside in the garage or in the yard. He bought a baby monitor so that he could hear her when he was working in the kitchen. And the hospice workers began to make regular visits. But when the pain could no longer be controlled any other way, they urged him to have her transported to their facility. There, the morphine pump dosed her regularly, with enough to keep her just on the edge of consciousness, floating a bit above the agony of cancer which had now gone to her bones. Pop and I kept watch. Did we wish to keep her so she could respond to us? Not if it meant more pain. So little by little, the dosage and the depth of her sleep increased. At one point, a new nurse came on duty and stood at the foot of Mother's bed and asked me to tell her about my mother. We hadn't heard from Mom in over 24 hours, and we didn't expect we would hear from her again. So we talked quietly, assuming that Mother could probably hear us. Mother was a violinist, I said. See that red mark under her chin? That's called a practice mark. It's a callus from years and years of playing the violin. And I reached up and gently touched it. At that moment, Mother's eyes opened, and she looked directly at the nurse and said in a clear voice that sounded like a 5-year-old, "I play the violin." Then her eyes closed, and she returned to her slumber. That was her final statement. And she summed up her entire life, crystallized her story in those words. After her death, Pop and I were looking through an old photo collection, and we found a picture that we had never seen, and it was when she was about 5 years old. The photo was damaged, but you could still see the image. She was standing there with this big floppy bow in her hair in front of a Christmas tree and very seriously playing her violin. And we knew this was the child who just a few days ago had said, "I play the violin." How, if given the opportunity, would I crystallize my life? A gravestone epitaph for a distant relative reads, "She hath done what she could." From here, from my perspective in this 82nd year of life, I feel as if I've lived several chapters, or at least been the protagonist in several chapters, most of them fortunate. Sure, there have been failures and losses, but up against those who were caught in wars, those who are barely existing as refugees, those who are stuck in systems of perpetual poverty, what complaint have I? Born into the privilege of a white, fairly secure family, a recipient of education and scientific advances, allowed to make my own adult decisions and mistakes, did I do what I could? Am I doing what I can? Well, we've entered a new year. We are 1/5 of the way into this 21st century. The past year has been a humdinger, and we're not in the clear yet. But lots of folks are doing everything they can to bring honest caring back into our world. Here's where I have to raise up Stacey Abrams, a Black woman in Georgia who ran for governor and lost, but she didn't dwell on that. She gathered up her strength and organized folks to get out and vote. In spite of the harsh difficulties of voter suppression and a pandemic, Stacey Abrams did this, and she has my enthusiastic support. Political passions have divided us deeply, even in our own families. Systemic inequalities from this country's foundations have become exposed as never before. It takes daily intention to acknowledge fear, to embrace hope, and to choose kindness, to choose love. Do we have the courage to educate ourselves above and beyond propaganda, which is still going to be coming at us for a long time? I recommend looking up Heather Cox Richardson, a historian, a teacher, a college professor who can talk in real everyday terms, who loves her work, and yes, a Mainer too. I subscribe to Heather's daily Letters from an American, where she puts the current events in a historic context. I discovered her only about 6 or 7 months ago, and she has been an anchor for me, which held no matter how extreme the tides. Ocean tides, as you know, are not equal in different parts of the planet. They're much more serious along the coast of Maine than they are, for instance, here in San Diego. Ocean tides have always been for me a metaphor for healing. Ebb and flow, sometimes passionate, sometimes placid. The steady process has always helped me deal with what I could not express in words. We have lots of healing ahead of us. And like the North Atlantic tides, there is depth and power and constant shifting. And it is never done. But that's not to say there isn't joy to be discovered, joy to be anticipated. The eventual bloom of that first daffodil, the eventual success of the vaccination process, and that blessed day when we will be able to sit next to each other and listen to Justine say, "Please rise in body or spirit and let us sing together."
The lone wild bird in lofty flight is still with you, nor leaves your sight, and I am yours, I rest in you. Oh, wondrous love, rest in me too. Each secret thought is known to thee, my whole life's path, whate'er it be, and I am yours, I rest in you. Oh, wondrous love, rest in me too, rest in me too. The ends of earth stretch far and wide, through dark and sea and open sky, and I am yours, I rest in you. Oh, wondrous love, rest in me too, rest in me too. The lone wild bird in lofty flight is still
Our closing words are by Ellen Bass. The thing is to love life, to love it even when you have no stomach for it, and everything you've held dear crumbles like burnt paper in your hands, your throat filled with the silt of it. When grief sits with you, its tropical heat thickening the air, heavy as water, more fit for gills than lungs. When grief weighs you down like your own flesh, only more of it, an obesity of grief, you think, how can a body withstand this? Then you hold life like a face between your palms, a plain face, no charming smile, no violet eyes. And you say, yes, I will take you. I will love you again. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Ashe.